Everybody's so friendly, so that's why I love that we're here.
Thank you.
I mean, we don't ever want to leave.
And it kind of, hearing the story of how he kind of came up and started bodybuilding and things like that, it seems like that a lot of that was instilled in you. First, you started a gym in your garage,
Right.
the rest of your wife, and that became a family because that's literally your home. But also, like you were saying, when you were training when you were younger, these older people came up and took you under their wing and showed you love and just cared for what your growth and what your intentions were. And it seems like you really exude that in this place. Like, I love coming here because it does feel like a home. I'm welcomed here, and if I'm doing something like, hey, you need any help or any suggestions?
All the time.
All the time. And I love that about you. I mean, how much thought do you really put into that, or is that just something that happens naturally?
It's not something that happens naturally because, I'm a human.
Right.
So there are things, sometimes I'd rather watch a UFC fight. And I know it's time for me to go to the gym, but,
Right.
I get up and I have flashbacks. You mentioned pictures all over the wall.
Oh, yeah.
First thing I did when I came in today, Marjani took my temperature, sprayed my feet, and when I stood up, the first thing I did was walk over to the wall. And I had a flashback. Some of those competitions are close to 30 years old.
Right.
So I had to look back like, man, where was my brain during that time of training?
Wow.
So I had to ask myself sometimes there. And I had a lot more freedom to train, and I had a lot of motivation also. So there were times where, I was like 99.9%, and, that people gave me that other 1% were the ones that pulled me over the ledge. And just to not so much talk about me, Futaba was definitely, she's been one of those people that have been in my life and helped me through a lot of time. When I first met Futaba, she was a client. I remember the first time I saw Futaba, I was the clubs that I used to work at, I was doing a guest posing type of thing, where I had on some red shorts, and I was down in the lower area, where people first come in through the door, almost like if I was standing here.
Right.
They had a small stage there. People were not familiar with bodybuilding at all. They were more into exercising, And so the group there said, hey, how about if you do some sort of posing routine there, And so I was there doing my routine, and I remember Top coming in, and I was thinking like, oh wow, there's an Asian woman.
I'm a really pose.
I need to impress her, And so shortly after that, she came up and she started asking me about personal training.
Really?
And I said, talk to a little bit about personal training, and then she signed up with me for personal training. And then during that time, we became just good friends, And she's someone easy to talk to, and she always had questions about bodybuilding and questions about nutrition and questions about everything having to do with the sport. So she wasn't flirty or anything like that, And then
All business.
it was straight business, And
I see that in there all the time.
She don't play.
Which is how that's Japanese. That's also her father.
Right,
very much on top of your business. And so that's what I call her the boss when she comes in. But then we became such good friends that I honestly felt guilty about charging her for personal training. So I said, I'll tell you what, just between us, why don't you become my training partner? And then we don't have to worry about me charging you for personal training. So
I thought he was saying, why don't you just be my wife?
That came
He was building up to it. That was a precursor.
Because I'm thinking,
that came a little bit later.
But that's really cool because the relationship that him and I have, we've been training for 6 years. I want to say father and son, but it's more like just two guys that get along really well with each other, and we just spend each other's money on feeding the other one. So like it's never really this clear master and student kind of relationship.
Oh, no.
And like you said, and I love that word you used, why don't you become my training partner?
Yeah, and she was right up there. I mean, she'd come inside. She knew she couldn't use the same amount of weight.
Right.
But there were 4 of us that trained. There was Paul Mendez and the woman is his wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rowena Robles. And
is that just a habit amongst friends? You start training somebody,
next thing you know, you become
friends,
well, actually,
you get married.
Rowena was training with us. We call her Ro for short.
Okay.
She was training with us when this gym was, I don't know if it was here or the one down the street, but she had been training with us for quite some time.
Okay.
And she already had, Paul, he's been training with me. We've been training together since around 1986. A long time. We've competed in shows, and Hawaii, here around the Bay Area.
I was a year old.
Yeah, we've been training here for a long time together. And so I think Rowena was actually happy that another woman was joining the troop.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah, there's a balance.
You know, but all four of us trained together. It wasn't like the women trained with the women and the guys trained with the guys. We all, you know, were interchangeable.
Equal partnership.
Yeah, it was, you know, and we all think, Paul and I, since we had been doing it the longest, we had expectations. You know, just because you're women, don't think that you're going to come inside and just all of a sudden turn this into a cutesy thing.
Yeah,
And
be cute and be done with it. Yeah.
and they had no desire to do that anyway. But we also had that stance. It's like, you know, this is for real to us, and this is you know what we do part time for a living. Paul was a career counselor at San Francisco State. That was his full time. Yeah. He's a serious cat too, man. I appreciate having those people in my life because they help me out a lot with that. But yeah, that was the beginning for Stav and I, and the beginning of Physique Magifique. So again, I can't take it and say that I've done.
Oh, this is my
myself. You know, yeah. I don't even feel comfortable with saying that. You know, she's been a major part of turning this into what it is.
From now on, we're just going to call you employee number 1.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
It does. It follows the ball.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, and I see her folks in this place. I mean, she will look at everything. The other day, I was in there training somebody, and they had my mess on here, and she's like, "Put your mask on! Stand 6 feet away from her!" Like, okay.
Look around.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, shit, is she here?
She's talking to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's how she's just very, you know, she wants to make sure everything is where it needs to be. I mean, she doesn't leave anything a chance.
No.
Yes.
She's constantly just, you know, on top of everything and everybody, right? But you've got to love that because you can tell that this is her livelihood, and this is how she makes her world go around.
Yes.
And God damn it, she's going to do what she needs to
She's
do.
like that with everything.
Oh, yeah.
She's like that with everything. I mean,
And I know part of that is her Japanese upbringing.
Right.
Because she's talked to, you know, she and I talk a lot. And she says, yeah, in Japan it's boom, boom, boom. There is no, you know, half-ass stuff.
But she also studied in England, too.
Yeah, she studied in England. So
and her father was I believe, an international businessman.
Right.
Yeah, to meet, I call him Otosan. That means father, you know.
now, how was that first day meeting?
Meeting the Japanese man.
It was, you know, I mean, and I'll be blunt with this, but you guys had it at the bite of my tongue, you know. Everywhere I go, I'm conscious that I'm a black man.
Right.
Everywhere that I go, I'm conscious that I'm black, and I'm conscious of how I conduct myself. And so I always thought, or I was always taught that when you go to someone else's home, you might be the first person that they meet. So give them a good impression.
Right.
So I didn't play outside of what I was, but I wanted to make sure that, you know, he understood that the majority of black people don't walk around with their pants sagging,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, or anything else that you look down on, and also that this is your only daughter. So I understand that, you know what I'm saying. So you know, I'm conscious of that. So you know,
I'm about to tell you how funny that is, right? 4, maybe 5 years ago, when we first started here, right? This young cat comes in here, pants hanging down, just like he mentioned, and Jim was like, "Hey, if you want to be in here, pull your pants up, because we're not alone." I mean, this is, you know, and it was, you did it very respectful, but you're very stern.
Very
like,
firm, very
This
firm.
is my house. You're not going to walk around here like that, and you're going to do what you need to do.
Part of why it feels like a home is that he treats it as
Yeah, he does. I mean, you don't let anything just go. You don't let anybody just, you know, just walk in and do whatever. You kind of set some rules.
we work.
And I love that about you. I mean, you know, we try to just say with our students, like, hey, clean up here, guys. Don't leave anything mess. Let's try to, you know, keep the nice, you know, keep the house clean. And that's why, you know, and I got that from you because, like, okay,
Yeah.
he's really treating this. If he can do that, and I'm just a guest here, I'll be done, you know. And you know me, I'm always trying to do whatever I can for the place. Because you are, but you're still very stern.
Right.
I mean,
You're straightforward, but
Yeah.
in the most respectful way possible.
Thank you. Well, you know, like I
Appreciate
said, a lot of people have sacrificed in order for us to be able to do what we do. And some people also, they just have never had that type of upbringing.
That's
you know,
true.
they've never, you know, they're looking for a big brother, you know,
Right.
you know, uncle, father, relationship, whatever the case is. When they see that you actually care about them, you know,
Yeah.
and you can still be you. You can still be you, but you know, let me just share this with you, man. If you haven't thought about this, just consider this when you go around. Because, like I said, you might go to someone else's house or someone else's country, and you might be the first person that they come in, you know, with your background, and give them a good impression, give them a lasting impression of who you are and what you're all about, because many people have sacrificed in order for you to get to where you are to do what you're doing. So that was the first thing on my mind when I met Futaga's parents. You know, I didn't want them to look at me as, oh my God, what do my daughters do? And, you know, yeah, we've raised you better than that.
Every dad's nightmare.
I guess no. Her parents are the sweetest parents. You know, I mean, as soon as I got there, they treated me like Jimmy. You know, there was no preconceived ideas or notions or whatever the case is. They didn't ask me why I wasn't studying Japanese, and they didn't you know,
try to push anything.
So when are you moving to Japan?
Nothing like that, man. I can just be me. And in fact, it's interesting. I hope you know, this might be sharing this, but you know, when we first announced that we were getting married, you know, her mom was the one that said, you know, well, just have, you know, just go ahead, you can have children, you can get married.
I love it.
My brother-in-law said that, hold on for a second, you know, which was, you know, like knocking that nail in the inch, and you know, we approved this guy. We're proving this guy.
Wow.
That's like,
Hey, it's okay. Don't worry about the marriage. Just give us grandbabies.
You know, and that's a rarity, isn't it?
It really is.
That's very rare to have that happen.
yes.
Because, you know, in our culture in the Philippines, right? I'm Filipino, and
You are?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
You know, it's always looked down upon if you don't marry within your own race.
Right.
Although one of my sisters did, but even then, you know, in the beginning, because we grew up here in the States. We grew up in San Francisco. So it wasn't so bad for us. But when you're in the Philippines, you know, somebody who just came from there or hasn't been in America for that long, there's that stigma, oh, you can't marry a white guy, you can't marry a black guy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it happens, but it's kind of looked down upon.
It's a taboo.
And there's like a whole hate thing until they finally get to know you better, then you're part of the family. But until then, you know, it's kind of frowned upon. But the story you're giving us is like right off the bat, boom, they love you up, and you're just Jim.
I've had black people, women in particular, turn their nose up. You know, a few times. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
There was a place that I do music also. I haven't performed in a while, but I've done spoken word and poetry. You know, and I was doing this quite a bit. I mentioned earlier that I was teaching a music program in Bayview, and Futaba knew me at that point. She'd been to quite a few performances, but there was a place in San Francisco that used to always do spoken word, accent type of stuff, and got invited there to perform quite a few times. And the first couple times we went in there, it was, you know, I think who was one of few non-black women inside there. And that was like, you know, I mean, in black groups, people wear, you know, dashikis, and they wear African headdress, and they wear, you know, I mean, it was
beads.
all about preserving the culture, you know.
Right.
And so, and it was really obvious, and there were few, if any, people in there who were fronting. I mean, people were really about, let's preserve the roots, you know. Right. And when she went in there, it was like, I was invited there, so they didn't know what to expect. And when I got there and I walked in with her, you know, kind of looking at her, but she was never trying to be anything except Futaba. You know, I'm from Japan, I speak Japanese, here's my culture, here's my, and she was so too proud of that to notice anything else. And she never had the S on her chest or whatever. You know, this is who I am, this is who I am going to be. I'm not tripping on you, you know. If you don't, you know, appreciate it. Oh well, you know, that's your problem. And that's an understanding that I have to learn, you know, type of thing. So, but after over a short period of time, people started, you know, really liking food too. Oh wow, you know, you bring the food.
Well, she's easy to like.
She really is.
Yes, she is. She's easy to love.
You can say that.
I call her mom because she and I have this weird relationship that she calls me dad and I call her mom. You know, we just have a good time when we're you know, playing around.
I'm noticing a trend here in your life experiences, and I think that more of us could learn how to do this better. But you're really taking into account all the influences that you've had in your life, and it's not that they've changed who you are, but they've affected who you are into a better place. And I think that takes a lot of swallowing your own pride to be able to say, okay, I was influenced by this person this way, I was influenced by this person this way. I'm still me.
Yeah, and that shines through.
It really does. But and I bring it up because one of the biggest discussions we have in the martial arts world is tradition. This idea that you have to do things a certain way or something. But regardless of who you are and how traditionally you keep any idea, you're always influenced by the people you meet.
This is true.
By the experiences you go through.
This is true.
And to reach that point where you can acknowledge even the individual influences, the moments in which something clicked in your head or gave you a different direction.
From that school teacher who told you, hey, come over here. Now, was she a black teacher or a white teacher? Right, so exactly. I mean, here it is. A lot of your influences were not the same nationality with you, right? I mean, for the most part?
Yes.
So, and growing up in that day and age, back in the 70s, because I'm from there too, I mean, even though I was raised in America, I still had frowns and weird stuff.
You didn't look American.
You know, I didn't look American, but my voice was.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be on the phone and say, oh yeah, thanks, man. And you get there like, who are you? Oh yeah, I'm just great. I was on the phone with you. You know, so, but that is very, you know, to me that says a lot about you, the individual, that you make an impression on all these people that help change your life and said, no, here, you're a nice kid. You look at, you know, you're doing all these things, blah, blah, blah. Here's the free pass. Here's the free membership. All these things that are going on in your life for a young black kid in that day and age is tough.
Yeah, man.
And I'm just really impressed by that.
I had an uncle who was a hardcore, street hustler. And I'll just say that to put it in light terms, you know. But
we don't snitch.
He was the hardest that he's passed away now, you know. But he was the hardest that I actually ever grew up with, you know. And he was involved in some things that I'm sure he didn't want me to ever get involved in, but he wanted me to see that, you know, you make the best out of the worst.
Understand?
Which he absolutely did, you know. He wake me up in the morning and ask me to ride with him certain places and see certain things, you know. And I was like, not the eldest, but I wasn't the youngest also, you know, but there were certain things he wanted me in particular to see, you know. And I'm like, yeah, he's like my favorite uncle, man. You know, plenty of money.
He's the one.
He always had plenty of money and nice cars and you know, and he just always had different you know, apartments and condominiums and, you know, things that he was doing business at. I'm like, man, you know, in my mind I'm thinking, I want to be just like that. But in his mind, it was like, no, man, I want you to be, you know, exactly how that. His wife, my Aunt Lynn, she was the one that took me, her and my mom took me to my first bodybuilding competition. So he wanted me to see certain things.
So you stay away from it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's like, you know, you're too smart for this.
So it seems like you had all the right influences growing up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that could have been horribly worse.
Yeah.
And I was like that. I was in a bad area. I was in the Mission. I mean, I knew about Bayview. I knew about, you know, Geneva Towers. I knew about all these places. And they were like, stay away from those areas. You know, but here it is, people are showing you, caring enough about you, say, stay away from here. Do what you're doing because it's great. You're making a good way. Keep going. Follow this path. Right. Don't go over here.
And even though you know, on the down low, I tried once or twice, but I just wasn't savvy enough. You know what I'm saying? I had to admit that to myself.
Thank God you weren't savvy enough.
You know what, man? This ain't me. And then I saw, you know, some of my other family members who were out there doing it really sloppy, and I'm thinking like, man, if I were you, I would do this and I would do that. But you know, really, I'm not savvy enough. And more than anything, I just didn't want to disappoint my mother.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was my main focus. It's like, man, my mother has, you know, she was 16 when she had my sister, 18 when she had me. You know what I'm saying? So she was a really young mom, and I only remember my mother working hard. I mean, working. So I was just working, and you know, and always trying to provide, you know, a different type of lifestyle for my sister and myself. So I never wanted to disappoint that.
That's probably where you got all that discipline and hard work.
You know, probably. I'm sure she contributed a lot. There's no question about that.
That's a great example.
So let me ask you this before we get going, because we've been going for a pretty long time. What are your thoughts when somebody says, "Hey Jim, can you train me?"
Well,
what are the first three things that you say to this person? Hey Jim, I want to learn to be like you or to do stuff you're doing.
and I ask them why. Is the first thing I ask them, you know, and then I go into I interview them, you know, because I don't want it to be a waste of time. I'm not into this just to take their money. you know, type of thing. Because just the fact of them asking me, that's already handing out, here, Jim, you know, can you take my money? You know, so I'm saying, you know, why do you want to do this, and what do you expect to get out of it? You know, that's the first thing I need to know. And then how disciplined are you? You know what I'm saying? Is this something that you really want to do, or did you see a couple of commercials on TV?
Did you see that magazine at the
Right,
back?
I want to do this, whatever the case is, you know. And so they'll lay out their reasons, and then I'll tell them what this all entails. You know,
Right.
it's not going to be an overnight success type of thing, and you know, it's going to take a few months just for your body to get acclimated to this type of workout and eating program. And the next thing I ask them, start to write down everything you eat breakfast.
Yeah, I know that routine. Tommy did that to me.
And then I'll give them a couple free exercises,
Right.
a couple free workouts, just to see, you know, it's almost like, well, let's play a couple games of scrimmage.
Right.
Let's see if we can take a few hits first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If we can take a few hits, then we're taking up under my wing.
Right.
Let me give you a few suggestions, you know, things that you might try, and then let's come back and let's give it a shot.
So you try to find those things that people found in you that gave them that confidence to share with you and help you along.
Yeah, and I'm honest too. I'm like, man, you know what? I could be at home like reading a book or playing with my animals or watching something on TV or definitely spending more time with my family. You know, and usually just goof off my time. I'm not going to do that because I can think of other things that I much rather be doing with my time than staying in the funky, sweaty gym all day. You know what I'm saying? So if you really want to do this, consider, you know, the real reasons why, and then we can both look into that and see how, you know, how it goes for me.
So you're not afraid to turn somebody away and say, hey, there are other ways that you can accomplish this or other places you can go to.
And there are other people out there who really want to work out, you know. So I mean, I've been personal training since 1983, right? The first time I ever started personal training.
1983.
1983.
Before we actually get out of here, let me ask you this, because I've always been curious. What was it like to be Mr. USA? Right? It's one of those questions you gotta ask.
You see the magazine
There's
clip.
a magazine up there, and I want to know.
You see that big old smile on his face.
Yeah.
It was great because there were a lot of people that didn't believe that I could do it. They just thought, you know, oh, this guy's
There were
dreaming.
naysayers,
You know,
huh?
there were a whole bunch of haters. You know?
What did that do to you, though? Did that make you more determined, or were you just...
Well, you know, it was like it was a goal accomplished, and also for the fact that I wanted the year that Flex Wheeler won the overall. And Flex Wheeler, he was the top name in if you want to say, during the time I won the middleweight USA was amateur, right? And you didn't get a pro card for just winning the middleweight. You had to win the overall. And just for me to be in that competition the year that Flex Wheeler.
Oh, wait. Let me introduce you to photography. Excuse me, miss.
Miss, can you come here for a moment?
Just so you guys know, the lady that we've been talking about, Patella, this is her.
It's my wife.
You want
Hi.
Without the mask.
and she's the actual owner of the gym. So
He's employee number one,
employee
remember?
number one. She's mom to me, anyways. Thank you for inviting us to this place. We were talking to Jim about what it's like to be Mr. USA. So you can go back to working out. Go away. We want to finish our conversation.
Molding minds.
No, but that was, you know, it was a good pie in the face of a few people, you know.
Well, yeah, because you must have just really embarrassed him by thinking, oh, you weren't going to make it. Here it is. I win.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great feeling, you know. But also, it was like, thank you. But also, it was something that, you know, you had to. Now I've done this. Now what? You know,
Right.
there's still the nationals, which is the competition that would actually take you to being a pro.
Right.
But then I also, the job that I was working at that other health club, I had to go back there and make up because they allowed me to take time off of my regular schedule
Just for that.
and create my own schedule. So I was able to work in the morning, go home in the afternoon, and eat and sleep for 4 hours, and then come back and work again. You know, and I was the fitness director. I was the guy who ran the
So you needed to be there.
Yeah, I was a personal training director and fitness director. So I had 2 jobs in the same location, and they paid me well for it. You know, so but they also allowed me to be able to have the room and time and space. You know, so it was great that I didn't let them down. Also, you know, by going up here, giving it my all. I was ready to, you know, go up and you know, get whatever it was, get whatever it was. But I wound up instead in a class by himself and 1 point short of a perfect score. So that was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It was like, that was really cool with all the shows. Because I won quite a few teenage competitions also, but that was the one I think that really put the icing on the cake right there. So I felt great about accomplishing that.
Well, let's go ahead and cut it off from here because this is a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having me. Great to be here with the Blade.
And again, if you want to come visit, the gym is located in South San Francisco at
387 Grand Avenue.
And I'm Rick.
I'm Naeem.
And again, thank you for joining us at Konversation, and we'll see you guys next time.
That's pretty cool. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you guys, man.
Very